Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Unfiltered with Bridget
and Angie. And today we have Chelsie here with us. She is our homeowner that we wanted to bring in and interview and just talk about her process, how it went, try to make things seem, or not seem, but bring more reality to the whole transaction. Because when it comes to just, what Bridget and I do, it can seem like, well, you do that every single day. So when you bring in an actual like buyer's perspective of how their process went, the things that came up that you wish you would have known, I think it helps bring more of a realistic viewpoint on it and helps other people see like, hey, I'm in that current position too, so there are options for me. So I guess if you want to, we'll just start off. You want to introduce yourself a little bit, and then talk about. So you bought a house, almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
So just isn't that
Did
crazy?
not realize that.
When you put a number on it, it's been and the market has changed a bit, but I still feel like the buyer mentality and what you went through that doesn't change. Each person's separate or individualized in that, but the actual like mentality of it, I think has been the same. So you just want to talk a little bit about you and your experience and what happened or how it went, and then things you learned, and kind of go from there.
Okay. So my name is Chelsie. I bought my house in 2017, 10 years ago almost. So for me, it was definitely not an overnight thing. Like I didn't just decide I was going to buy a house and then there was the house. It was a very long process. I was a full-time bartender, I think maybe even a student when I started looking.
Oh, wow.
But I was a young mom and I just wanted like the home to raise my child. We were in apartments and I was just like, I didn't grow up in an apartment. I grew up in the same home almost my whole childhood. So I really wanted that for my child. So I started looking at homes before I went to the bank, which is probably backwards in hindsight. And you know how that is. If you're shopping for homes, you walk into every single one and you're instantly like, you can see your kid over there and like in that yard. And so I was definitely emotionally attaching myself to every single home. But then never able to actually afford that home, but then the next one would always be a little bit better. So it was a blessing. I started talking with a bank, the one that I had all of my money at. So I thought that would probably be the best place to start. Unfortunately, the numbers were just not there. So I actually left a lot of banks crying. It was a really emotional thing for me.
Yeah, it's very emotional. Yeah.
But as a bartender, I didn't have a lot of income to show. A lot of my income was based on tips at the time. A lot of that was not reported correctly back then. So I just could not qualify for a loan that would actually allow me to buy the house unless I had a very large amount to put down. I did, however, start finding a bank that I could work with. I got a seasonal job as a tax preparer. And once you had done a seasonal job for, I think, 3 years, and maybe that's changed? 2 years. Okay. So then I could actually show that as income. And so that's what finally got me into the process.
Yeah, it's important to know that like income is not the same for everybody, So like having tips, that those are great, but they're not reported. So if we can't see it on like a W-2 or a pay stub, it's hard to use it because cash, you can't trace it. Mm-hmm. So cash is great, but it's not great when you want to buy a house. So unfortunately, you learn that through the hard part. So yeah, cash is good, but if we can't trace the source of where it came from, we can't use it, and cash can come from literally anywhere. So it's learning that those little nuances, of qualifying income is kind of important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there were some other tricks along the way too. I definitely probably had a few credit cards. Like I know I had different amounts of money. Not necessarily all credit cards. And I don't know what those other things would have been. But I know there were like loans against
anything that reports to your credit report. So it can be a student loan, car loan, installment loan, credit cards. So things that report to your credit report are things that we look at.
Yes. So that was one of the tips I was given right off the bat, was to try to get some of those down.
Yes.
And I think part of it too is just even having the cards open, right? So even having a Kohl's card, $0 balance, that is still not helping me.
Well, it's not hurting you either though. So if you would have closed that credit card, your credit score would have gone down.
Yeah.
So most people think, oh, I'll just get rid of all of my debt, because I had that same mentality too. I was like, this credit card's paid off. I don't want it anymore. Like I
Mhm.
was, maybe you got in a hole and you got yourself out of that hole and like you don't want to go back in there. So you're like, I'm just going to close it. But if you close that available line to you,
Yeah.
it can hurt your credit score, and people don't see it that way either. So, I mean, Kohl's is a great example because I feel like everybody has a Kohl's credit card. You have a Kohl's credit card?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like literally everybody has a Kohl's credit card and they've had it for like 20 years, you know?
Yeah.
And that ability to repay in a history is still there. So it still helps you. So it's important to hang on to that for credit purposes too.
Yeah, and I think a time and a place. Everywhere you go, they want you to open the card and
Always.
like, no more, no more.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah.
Like, I want the 10% discount, but I also,
I also want a house.
Yeah.
So I do not need this credit card that bad.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was kind of the story for me. I was working with a banker and I really wanted to use them as a lender. Unfortunately, I heard about some grant, and that is something I don't think a lot of people know about. That helped me so much. I had to go to some class. It was a one-day class. And they basically helped me budget. So learn like, what is my mortgage going to be? What are my current bills? So it was really informative, but that actually gave me an additional $6,000 for my down payment. And the only stipulation was I had to live in my house for 5 years, which I've almost made it 10.
Yep.
So I'm doing good.
There you go. Yeah.
So I never had to pay that money back. But if I had gone with the original lender, I don't know the situation.
Yeah,
she wasn't able to offer it, or
not all banks have the
Okay.
ability to access those.
Yeah.
You know, so it all depends on how that specific institution is set up, but not all of them have access to community grants.
Okay.
And they may only have like loan programs that they have internally. They may have options, but not touching all of those. You know, because I've gone from the banking world to the credit union world now to the independent mortgage banker world, and every single one of them is different on what you can offer. You know, so it depends on how each lender is set up. So it's not a one size fits all, and every situation is a little bit different. But yeah, having grants can be really, really helpful, and most of them are, you know, free. You know, I wouldn't call it free. You had to pay back and sell within 5 years, but those courses are also very helpful.
Yes,
invaluable.
invaluable.
You know, a lot of home buyers, even if you aren't doing a grant, depending on what loan program you are in, you still have to take one because it teaches you how to budget and make your payment. Because the last thing we want is to take your house from you. We don't want foreclosure.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. We don't want to touch that.
So I also had a lot of people show me houses because this was such a long time. So, and I really liked my last realtor because, first of all, I think it's so helpful to have someone actually walk through the house and point out things that you're not looking for. Because if you are a young mom and you're like, just want this fairy tale ending of this happy home for your kid, you're not looking at the walls and the infrastructure and whatever, all the things I think realtors are so knowledgeable on the property and can really offer you guidance. I also feel like when I was going into the process, I thought I was paying something for the or like I just thought that was another expense for
that's
me
a big one.
as someone who already was trying to afford the house. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. And so you get commissions based on the sale from the seller, right? So it's not costing the buyer. Is that how that works?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Back in 2017, how was it versus how it is now?
Well, again, that still could be different.
That's true.
It still could be because there's no set way of how an agent gets paid, really.
Okay.
But usually,
I mean, there is no standard, you know, and there is no usually, but, you know, you get, the seller pays a certain commission, and 9 times out of 10, but again, it's not standard, the listing agent will pay a co-broke to the buyer's agent, which then covers your agent as the buyer, the fee. So then you as the buyer don't have that closing expense of a commission, but you still will have your title fees and
you still have closing fees. You're just not paying the commission fee of the realtor usually.
Correct. And now, you know, things have changed drastically since 2017. So, you know, now before you go and look at a house, you have to sign either a buyer agency with a real estate agent or a pre-showing agency agreement form. I cannot think of the exact name. It's a WB50.
All right, get technical today with all the.
Yeah, sorry guys. Anyways, so the difference between the two is basically if you're just signing a pre-showing agreement, basically I'm just your door opener. I'm like Vanna White, except for a house. I open the door and I'm like, here you go. I can't talk to you about price. I can't talk to you about negotiations. I can, talk about materials adverse facts, which are, if I see something that represents mold or if I see something that could be of a hazard, I can point that stuff out. But I can't go into negotiations with you or talk to you about price. If you want me to work as your buyer's agent, then that's different. Then we sign the buyer agency agreement. And then therefore, now I can negotiate on your behalf. You have hired me as your agent, and a lot more comes with that. And with that being said, if the seller is not offering a co-broke, then it would be up to you to cover my fee. Okay. Usually, before I write an offer, I find out, and then I'll come back to you to say, hey, they're not writing or they're not paying, a co-broke, which would be my commission. How do you want to handle this? And then I have options and ideas for you.
That's where creativeness can sometimes come into play too.
Correct. Yep. So I have not run into this yet.
Okay.
It's not. But yeah, it's usually taken care of. But yeah, there's always, could be some negotiating in there and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, so as long as you have a realtor that helps with that, it sounds like you found that, when you were looking at your house, because then it's not. So when you were looking, did you have how were you referred to your realtor? I know you went to your bank because that's where your relationship was.
That was not how I got my realtor, actually. I don't even remember exactly how it happened, but it was someone from high school.
Okay.
And I think he mostly did land photography and sold land. But somehow he was going to show me a house or two. But honestly, it worked out great because I already had that trust built with him. And I'm very indecisive and not very impulsive, not a big risk taker. And I feel like he had just enough push me, this is a foreclosure. They want to get it off the market. You could offer this. I would recommend it. He just did a really good job of giving me advice, but also kind of nudging me a little bit, I think. So, and he got stuff done.
Trying to show you,
So all of the work that you do behind the scenes is definitely worth the fees,
right?
Whether you're paying them or they're being paid by
the
seller.
I mean, I hear a lot of people say, I would never pay an agent. It's easy work. They don't do anything. And I'm like, yep.
That's so insulting. It's not.
We just open the door and we set up showings and that's it.
That's crazy.
That's not it.
When you've gone through it, you see how much they do for you.
Absolutely. Behind the scenes, all the paperwork, making everything smooth sailing. So you
and legal.
Sign
there's a lot of legality things involved 100%. In it too. So there's a whole lot, involved. So I mean,
wouldn't you want that extra level of security and protection on your home?
Right.
Of all things, it's
I wouldn't trust myself to know how to handle that. Because there's so much involved in that. It's just, it blows my mind that people don't find the value, but also I think they don't find the value because they haven't gone through it. They don't see it. So if you're trying to represent yourself and look at houses, okay, great, you get into contract, things go south. Who are you going to call? Yourself. Who's going to help you go through those hurdles? Because so if you bought a house, during a foreclosure property, I'm assuming there's hurdles in that process as well. So to have that guidance to work through that, because I mean, people can buy foreclosure homes. I mean, it's sometimes you get a really good deal on foreclosure home, but it's not going to be the easiest, especially if the sellers that are being foreclosed on did not maintain said property. I'm not sure what condition your home was when you bought it in, but I've seen some very not well loved homes, because usually if you're being forced out of your home, you're not going to leave very
well. They also don't have an emotional tie to it. I think sometimes sellers are they are excited to give their house to someone who's a young family or whatever. So if it's a bank, it's they're literally looking at a number or
they want the dollar.
They want this off the books. They're not looking at how can we help this person move in.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, because there is no emotional attachment to it. They're just robots. I mean, they're like numbers.
Correct. Yeah, money. And 9 times out of 10 they have a set price that
Right.
they want
will
to get
not
for it.
go.
So
We don't want to lose, money on the house is the biggest thing.
I will say one thing. I really like when you can get a pair, like the two of you, that work together well. So like my banker, I think I probably got the bank through I don't remember the exact thing.
Yeah.
But my loan was very quickly sold to someone else, and that agent is no longer there, which is fine. We're still here 10 years later.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. But I still think there is definitely something to be said when you can see people in a relationship working closely together, helping each other, and then have that relationship.
Yeah, I think that helps. That probably helps, as a buyer too going in, because I'm sure when you were going through that process, you had no idea what you were even looking for. I mean, so you just start looking, and then eventually you kind of figure out, what's going to work best for you and your kid, and kind of go from there. But is there anything like through that process you're like, I wish I would have known this before I even started looking at houses? No.
And not that I haven't said. I think the grants thing is huge because I don't ever hear anyone talking about that.
That's very true.
And I've known a lot of people that have bought houses, and I haven't heard of anyone else talking about it.
And the grants are very like county specific too.
Yes,
they're not ones that are nationwide. I mean, there are ones that help nationwide, but a lot of them are very county specific, like Dodge County, Washington County. I mean, I know there's a really great one in Waukesha County. So they're very county specific to know. But yeah, those are, especially for first time home buyers, they can be very, very helpful, to help with that burden of a down payment.
Yeah.
Because some people don't even think of that, or they, even if you make a lot of money, you may not have a lot of money saved up, for down payment. I mean, that's important to understand too, is not everybody has, $5,000.
Well, also I had to put a down payment on, but you walk into the house, it's not always ready to go. Mine was a foreclosure. It was very nice condition, but I mean, the carpet needed to be done. I wanted to repaint the entire house. This was another $10,000 of basic updates. And so I had extra wiggle room to play around with because I was able to qualify for those grants.
That's actually a really good point.
Whereas if I had to use that as down payment, now we're using the carpet that's 20 years old.
Yeah. And
with
who
their
knows
dog.
what's in that carpet. That's a gross.
Yeah.
Carpet is gross. I mean, I like carpet, but it's gross. I mean, because it's.
Well, I haven't taken a mop to my wall in 10 years, but I mopped the entire house and I painted.
Thing to say.
We just did an episode about that where
Miss OCD.
Yeah.
Do you mop your walls?
That's
I
a
take
yes.
that as a yes.
Yeah, my kids make fun of me because I host Friendsgiving every year because our downstairs basement is not finished, but it's open and it's like a giant toy room. We have a huge projector screen down there. They can watch Disney Plus, whatever. So we have everything down there. So I usually host because a lot of my friends have, younger children. So it's great to have the open space. They can just go play and the adults can be, upstairs as adults. But I have very strong OCD where I take my Norwich cloths and I'm wiping my walls down and wiping all the light switches off and the corners and
before or after?
Before.
But then also after.
So that was one of our podcasts is who's team Bridget and who's team Angie. I am, work smarter, not harder, as where I do the basic pickup,
tidy,
simple, clean before a party, and then after, that's when I do the deep clean.
Yeah. See, my brain doesn't work that way. My anxiety is too strong.
Does it twice.
I do it twice.
I just want to work harder at the things I'm good at and pay someone to clean because I don't want to clean.
Yeah, but yeah,
I mean,
carpets are very gross. Like they hold up, but going back to that, because sometimes even if you would have had like 10,000 saved up, you don't want to use every penny you have on your house because you have down payment, but then you also have closing costs, and people don't always understand that those are two different things. So it's important to know that you don't want to spend every dollar you have. So that if you do want to make updates, you have the money to do that. Or depending on where you're coming, if you're coming from an apartment, you may not have all the furniture you need to furnish, a whole house because you're going from a small space to a large space. Or if you're going from your parents' house to a house, you need to buy everything. So it's important to budget, your money that way. And if you qualify to find different venues, grants are geared more towards people who are lower income or first-time home buyers who are lower income. So they're not meant for everybody, but they're meant to help make housing more affordable for those who need it. And they've continued now. I mean, since when you bought your house, they've made new loan programs that work that same way. Where they help make homeownership more affordable for the people who need it. It's not meant for everybody. It's not meant for people who make $100,000 a year. It's for those who are in like the lower tax bracket, because everybody should be able to own a house. So they try and find ways to allow everybody that freedom to buy a house.
I think one other thing, when you're buying the house, you look at the price and you're like, okay, this is what's going towards insurance and this is property tax. Like, you don't realize that's going to fluctuate. So in 10 years, our property taxes have gone up a lot. So my payment is not what it used to be, which, I mean, obviously inflation, things are going to change. That's to be expected, but just maybe people don't know that when they buy the house. I know I was thinking this is my set payment for life.
So when you sign your note at closing, it shows you your principal and interest payment on there, and that's just to pay your loan back. So that is set in stone. That cannot change unless you are on an adjustable rate mortgage, where it can change after a certain period of time, or if you refinance it, or do whatever. But your taxes and your insurance will change every single year, unfortunately, in the upward direction. Sometimes they have gone down, but it's not very common that you see those go down. And unfortunately, now with all the recent issues we've had with, natural disasters and weather and just all the insurance plans, everybody's seen their insurance premiums go up. So it's important to know that those will change. So it's not us changing your payment. It's literally your tax and your insurance change. So I get that phone call, every single year, like, why did my payment change? Well, tax went up $1,000, or your insurance is now $100 more per month. So we always need to like re-budget those to make sure that we're always collecting enough for those, because taxes are paid at the end of the year. Homeowners insurance is paid a year in advance. So it's very backwards. Your taxes are paid in arrears, your insurance is paid in advance. So people are like, well, I don't understand why I'm doing that. It's because that's how I don't understand the logic of it, but insurance is always paid a year in advance. So if you buy a house today, you're insured now until 2027. So it's always a year in advance, versus taxes at the end of the year, you pay for that whole year. So it's important to know that those are very different as well on how, when it comes to closing, how those are set up. But they're nice to have, to have the escrow in there, because then you don't got to worry about it.
Okay, so when I first got my house, like, I was trying to overpay every month and have that extra paid to the principal. And so then when the pandemic came and life was crazy, at one point I called and was like, hey, am I up on my principal where I can just skip a payment? And they said no. So I know with other loans, like a car loan, you can definitely pay ahead and then have like a grace period. So can you explain more about that?
Yeah, so mortgages don't work that way. So people try to do, like, you can do like biweekly payments. Not all lenders offer that option, where you can do a biweekly payment to get ahead on your principal balance, but you cannot be paid like well in advance on a mortgage. I don't know the full details of the background of it, but I do know that anything that you pay above and beyond your scheduled payment will go towards principal, so it pays your loan down faster, but it doesn't pay you in advance. So you don't have that. So if I pay, an extra $100 a month, in 6 months from now, I don't got to make a mortgage payment. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. But that money is not lost, so it's going towards principal, which
will decrease the interest.
Correct. Yep. So then there's less interest charged to your loan, which puts you further ahead. So even if you can round up a little bit, it's gonna make a really big difference in the long run. I mean, those little amounts can amount to a lot in the end. But yeah, mortgage cannot be paid, 6 months in advance, unfortunately. Like a car loan can, because I know my car loan, I had that where I set my car loan up the same way I had my mortgage set up, to pay more each month, thinking it was working the same way, but it wasn't. It was just making that payment, and then I had like 6 months of no payment. I was like, this is great, But I assumed that it had set up the same way as my mortgage, where that extra $50 a month I was paying on it was going towards principal, but it wasn't. So I guess it's kind of nice to have it go towards principal, because they say if you make one extra payment a year, like principal payment a year on your mortgage, you can take up to 7 years off of your loan.
Wow.
So those little amounts can really help. If your payment each month is like $1,041.10. If you pay $150, that extra $9 is going to go towards principal. It seems very small, but it,
and you
it
don't miss it. You
compounds.
just didn't get a coffee
Correct.
for one day.
Right, yeah, you just didn't get your coffee.
Yeah.
But those little amounts can make a really big difference if you're trying to pay your loan off even a little bit early. The less interest you pay, the better, because on a mortgage, most of your interest is in the beginning. You pay most of it. So if you look at your amortization schedule when you first get your house, it's very scary. It shows you how much is going towards principal, how much is going towards interest. This is the interest, this is the principal, and then very, very slowly it'll work this way. And then by the time like the halfway mark of your 30-year loan, then you're starting to pay more towards principal. But if you can get the interest portion, down further, then you're just going to help yourself.
Yeah.
In the end. So it's important to know that it's built that way to where you're going to pay a lot more interest in the very beginning. So you can say, I've had my house for 5 years, I'm going to pay it off, this much. Yeah, but you paid so much interest. So rounding up is a huge thing. But yeah, you're not. During the pandemic, though, we did see a lot of people who would call in and get their mortgages, modified to help make the payments more affordable. Like during that, because if you lost your job, a lot of people lost their jobs during that time. So there are solutions if you really do need help to not foreclose. They were able to modify people's mortgages, during a set period of time to make it where they didn't have to worry about.
So they modified it, but you didn't have to refinance in order to get that? Oh.
Correct.
But that's no longer a thing?
It still is.
Oh,
yeah, it still is. If you ever reach a hard spot in life, you lost your job, you're going through some major health issues where you can't, so there's always, we don't want to take your house away from you, so it's good to know there are options to help, with that. Either it's through modifying your loan, or if you want to try and sell your house before it gets to that point, to get them in a better position. So there are options to avoid a foreclosure spot. But during COVID, we saw a lot of people applying for modifications. They don't give everybody, get to qualify for it, but it's a good option to have to get you through that very hard, period of your life.
Yeah.
So there are options and that's the thing, is some people don't think to ask. So thank you.
That's where I kind of want to quick interject something to everybody out there, because right now foreclosures are high.
Unfortunately, they're coming back.
They're coming back. So if you find yourself in a situation where you cannot afford your mortgage, or you're in a hardship, whatever it may be, please reach out to me for your options. I have options. I have been working with people that are in pre-foreclosure or right before pre-foreclosure, and I'm helping them get out of trouble. Don't let the bank take your house, your equity, because if you do, you walk away with nothing. I have options where you can at least get some of your equity, if not all of it.
Yeah.
So please reach out to me. If you get a letter from the bank saying you're going to go into foreclosure, don't just put your head in the sand and accept it. Okay? Reach out. Let's get some money in your pocket and not give it to the bank. So there are options out there, and a lot of people don't realize that, especially with the couple people I've been talking to. They didn't realize that they have options. So if you get a letter and you're not sure what to do, please reach out. I do have options for you.
Don't give up.
Yes, don't give up. And
what does that process look like? Like, how long do you have until you're getting that letter?
Well, for example, if the lender filed, let's just say in December, that they filed that you're
delinquent.
you're delinquent.
Here's your warning.
Exactly. You roughly have, give or take, 6 months.
Oh, okay.
So, and then depending on, obviously I'm going to meet with you, go through everything with a fine tooth comb and then figure out the best route, which way we need to go, because I have several different options. So,
that process, I didn't realize how long of a process it is, for foreclosure.
Yeah. So if you get that letter, you have time yet. So
you don't gotta get out tomorrow. You got time to get things figured out, because the banks don't want to take your house back. Like, they don't want to go through that process.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they want to get their money. They want to get what's owed to them, and you should get what's owed to you. You shouldn't just give it back to the bank. So if you do get that letter, don't be like, well, it's done. It's over. It's not. That first letter, contact me. please. So y'all know my number. Just Google my name.
Yeah.
Well, especially like, isn't it in your advantage right now? You might make a profit on your house.
Correct.
So, and then get an apartment and whatever till that season passes, and then you can help us find a new house.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
right.
Just
That's
rebuild
exactly
your
it.
life.
Versus just, like you said, head in the sand, wait for it to happen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
don't give up, because then you have that impending due, like when are they gonna come in, like literally kick me out of my
Well,
house?
and then you only have one option. They are coming.
Right,
and
right,
kicking
and
you
they
out.
will
Whereas,
kick you out.
whereas
Correct.
this is, you have options, and it might actually put more money in your pocket and help you get set up somewhere else until.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
I mean, certain apartments, you have to fill out an application. They do the background check.
Sure.
They see, a foreclosure. They may not want to rent to you.
Well, because your
You
ability
know.
to repay, I mean, that's the key thing for anything. So they can see that you can't pay your mortgage, but makes them think you can pay your rent.
Mhm.
So if you have a foreclosure on your record, when can you get a loan?
Foreclosure is 4 years.
Okay, so what if you have delinquent payments and you're able to sell your house and not go into foreclosure? When can you get a home loan?
Depending on how delinquent they are, 24 months.
Okay, so you can get a new home loan in 2 years, or you can get a home loan in 4 years.
And that's all FHA financing too. Yeah, conventional 7 years after foreclosure. Yep.
So, think about that. If you get that letter, you have options.
Yeah.
You need to rebuild your credit. Speak with a lender. I mean, I know Angie likes to help, so let's get the ball rolling. So if you're in some financial stress there and you need to sell before the bank takes it, and you get that big ding on your credit, and you can't own a home, reach out, let us know, because rent is just going to continue to go up, and you're paying somebody else's mortgage. So
So I want to know if you're a homeowner and you're ready to start making some home improvements to your extremely outdated house. So I feel like, me personally, my house obviously was a foreclosure. I've now been paying on it for 10 years. I feel really comfortable with the number, just seeing where the rest of the market is, in terms of house
Or like
pricing.
equity in your house?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't have any idea how that works. If I was like, okay, I want $10,000 or $20,000 to remodel my kitchen. It's very specific here.
Your kitchen is a very, yes.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, she's in the same boat. She wants to remodel her kitchen also.
My house was from 2003, so if you walk into it, you will be. It's very outdated. Green countertops, if you're wondering.
Green countertops?
Yes.
Oh,
green
mine's
marble.
from 1951.
Okay, well that's.
And I have metal cabinets.
Yeah, hers are metal. Yeah.
Love that.
It's very it's got good character. I
yes,
guess,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So how does that work? I don't.
So
understand.
you're looking for to take the equity out to try and remodel it versus trying to pay for all that in cash. I'm assuming you're saying we're thinking.
Yes.
So we can do home equity lines of credit. So home equity line of credit is a second mortgage that you can take equity out of your house and use that for whatever you want. Like, it doesn't have to be home specific. Like, I've had people take
right.
home
If your
equity
kids
out.
are going to college
Correct.
or medical bills.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've had people take home equity out to pay for their kids, tuition for school, or they take it out as like a safety net, So if you do hit a hard spot, you just need like the extra, we call it like a reserve account. You have like backup money. You can always use that to cover things. But home equity essentially is taking some of the equity out of your house and making it liquid again. So then you take it out, you use it to do your kitchen. Like, you usually pick like a set line amount that you want. There's limitations on how much. You can't take all of it out. So you can't go up to 100% pull all the equity. You still have to keep equity in your house. But you can say, I want to take out, $50,000 in home equity. You don't got to use all 50,000. It'll just sit there. And then as you need it, you can use it. And then as you pay on it, it becomes available to you again. So it's like a liquid line. It's almost like a credit card.
Is that so that's a separate payment, or that gets
Correct.
put into
It's
the mortgage?
separate.
Okay.
Yep. And those are, the nice thing about them is they are a little bit more flexible in payment, because a home equity line of credit is interest only. So you only have to pay the interest on it. If you, if 1 month you don't have a lot of money, just cover the interest payment. The next month you have more, you can pay on principal. So you kind of create your own payment on that, which is really great too for people who don't have set incomes. So if you are commission based or a bartender, you don't have that solid income every single month. it gives you the flexibility to make your payment what's affordable for you at that time. But then anything you apply towards principal is available again.
So I actually just had my furnace go out.
Okay.
Oh.
And I was gonna like shuffle other things around, but I feel like this might be a good option for me then.
Yes, it would probably be a good option for you, and it's cheaper versus than like putting on a credit card.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
The interest rates. So when people talk about the Fed cutting interest rates, because we hear that all over the news every single time when that happens, or when they go up, when they go down, they're always talking about how the Fed cut the rate by a quarter, the Fed cut the rate by this, or they added. So that directly impacts the rate on your home equity. But either way, that rate is far lower than any credit card you're going to get, you know, because it is set at, you know, where the current rates are at. So the rates can change on that, but they're at a much lower rate. Plus, it's a secured debt versus a credit card is an unsecured debt. So secured debts help build credit also versus unsecured. I mean, unsecured ones do as well. But if the debt is a secured debt, it helps, you know, with your credit showing that you have collateral. It's like kind of a car loan. You know, your car is the collateral for your car loan. Either you pay your car loan or they take your car. You pay your home equity or they take your house. Yeah. You know, so the collateral is more solid, you know, when it comes to building a credit history too. So the home equity for you, if your first came out, and the thing is the money is available instantly. You get a checkbook.
I was gonna say, so do you get cash or
you have a separate like account, you get like a checkbook or you get like a debit card. I don't think I had either one of those with mine. I just like transfer it, you know, when I need it, and then pay it that way. So when I need to use it, I use my credit card to get the points, but then use my home equity to pay the credit card off. So that way I got the points, but I don't got to pay the credit card interest rate. Yeah. You know, you got to get creative.
Well, there was a
sometimes.
3% charge on the credit card, so I was like, well, if I had cash, I'd save $300.
Yeah. So the whole, and the nice thing is it's available to you. I mean, you need to get it set up. The process to do one is not that long. It doesn't take usually as long as a mortgage, like to buy a house, I should say. So the process is a little quicker, but the money is there for you when you need it, whenever you need it, you know. And then if you get a new furnace now, you pay that money off, then that $5,000 that you paid is available to you again. You usually have 10 years to use that money before they make you rewrite your home equity.
Okay, nice. So what's the current interest rate?
So those vary really big. The interest rates for home equity is vary based on what loan to value you're going to and what your credit score is. So those are two very important things when it comes to creating those rates. So they can vary, you know, from like 7% to 15%. You know, the higher rates are going to be for the higher risk profiles. Sure. You know, so if you have a 630 credit score versus an 800 credit score. So it's all based. The rates are based on risk. Really, you know, so they look at your credit, look at your history, and then wherever your risk level is and how much you're pulling out. So if you're trying to take out the max amount of money, you know, you're going to pay more in rate because we're giving you all the equity that you built up in the house back to you. So there's a little bit more risk. So those are very risk based. And then they can change, you know, whenever the Fed rate changes. So if that rate isn't going down, that's a good thing. Okay. You know? But even if it goes up, it's not like an astronomical amount where you're like, oh, my credit card's cheaper. Credit card will never be a cheaper solution.
Right. Yes.
But it's a good option to have so that way when things happen or like when those tornadoes went through, you know, because I know you had a little bit of damage from that too. I don't think yours wasn't as bad, but I saw like on Facebook you had like a shattered patio, like trampoline. So you're trying. So you need to replace those things.
Well, you know. We didn't, but yeah, it was just below the insurance. Like it didn't make sense, so we were just out the money. Right. And then they didn't do a federal disaster for a tax deduction for us.
Right. Yeah. So, but in that instance, you know, or if you would have had to have things replaced and your insurance only says, okay, we're going to give you this amount, but your total is this, the home equity could help, you know, fill in that gap. So that helps take some of that pressure, you know, off of you. Like, well, where am I going to come up with that kind of money?
Well, and I feel like once you've been in your home for enough time, it's like if those appliances start going, like you can't just ignore them, because if you ignore the dishwasher, then now your dishwasher and your wash machine are out.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's nice to have that little buffer, even if it's just a $10,000 and you're just paying it off and then getting the next thing and updating the next thing.
You can pay off as fast as you want or as slow as you want. You know, so you have that flexibility. So yeah, it's nice to have that. So because owning a home comes with expenses, you know, because you were originally responsible for everything, you know? So even if like, you know, your toilet breaks or just like everything that you need. So it's just nice to have that security, I guess, if you don't have everything saved up to cover that. Because a lot of the unknown, you know, hopefully you plan for, but you can't always plan for everything, you know, life happens. So you want your new kitchen. And the nice thing too is if you update your kitchen, those hold a lot of value, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So then you can get your house reappraised after that, and you'd be amazed to see how much more your house is worth at that point. Because there's certain updates you can do that really increase the value of your house. I feel like a kitchen's probably one of the top ones.
I would love to hear more on that because I know when I got my roof done, they were like, no, that's like you need to have. And I'm like, so I never understand like what counts and what does not.
Yeah. So people think, oh, I paid, you know, $30,000 for a new roof. I'll get that back when I sell it. No, you will not.
Well,
it's still a selling point.
It is, but you won't get all the money out of it that you put into it, will you? I guess I mean, that is a good conversation. Like, what are some, if you're going to update your house, you know, so new kitchen, fantastic. People love new kitchens, but what else? Like, if you change the carpeting, like, does that do anything? Or is it more like the big, like, I know patios are big, right? Or no?
No. I mean, basically what sells a house, and this is, you know, every buyer is different. Every season is different. You know, it always changes. So, but the one that kind of really sticks is, you know, you walk into a home and I always tell my sellers, it's the kitchen and the bathroom.
Okay.
If those two things wow a buyer, you're golden.
Why the bathroom?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That seems odd. Like, why a bathroom?
Do you want to go into a 1951 bathroom?
I mean, maybe.
Do you feel clean in there?
All right. I mean, well, same thing with carpeting. Like, you go into a living room and it's got
but
20-year-old carpeting that you walk into.
True, but what's going to be cheaper to update?
Carpet.
Exactly.
Okay.
So when you're walking in, you know, and the kitchen, my kitchen, 1951 metal cabinets, hardly any counter space, you know, really outdated, but I love my house. You know, me walking in there going, how am I going to tackle this one? You know, I'm looking at how do I do counters, you know, as a single person on my own with not a lot of liquid cash, like, how am I going to do this on my own? How am I going to afford this? You know, and then all of a sudden I see another house that might be just slightly more expensive, but the kitchen is up to date.
That makes sense.
Done. But the carpet's not up to date and the rest of the house isn't as nice, but hey, I can paint. I can afford new carpet.
So the carpet is just picking out the carpet and they come take your stuff away and put it in.
Right,
kitchen is like, okay, if we move that cabinet and like do something up here, like
correct.
Those designers are incredible, like how their brains, like how they create those blueprints. But yeah, and then that is true.
So that's
very true.
So yeah, when you're walking in, if your kitchen and your bathroom are like, those are going to go pretty quick as long as they're priced appropriately. You can't price them out of the market, you know.
Right.
But yeah, those are the houses that are going to probably go pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Roofs, yes, they do help. You know, obviously, if the roof is in desperate need of help, yes, absolutely put the roof on it because that will help the price. Now, if your roof has got, you know, 5-10 years left on it, are you going to get the full value from it? Not necessarily, you know, but if it is, you know, leaking and it's sagging, you know, whatever, if it has issues, yes, absolutely replace it. It's going to help. You know, one thing going through a house, let's say you've got a new roof, you've got a new furnace, you've got central air, your electrical has been updated, you know, your good mechanics, they're all taken care of. Now you just have to do some cosmetic updating. Okay, now the house looks more attractive because you've got all the bigger ticket items taken care of. So then that makes a house more attractive too.
That makes sense.
Now that you said the bathroom, that needs updating too. We have no water softener, so very hard on our bathtub. Yeah,
I don't have a water softener.
Really? Wow, I do, but I have well water.
City water.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I have a water softener. Interesting. I guess those are things you don't think of. But do water softeners add value, or is it just more of a convenience or thing? Okay.
Yeah, because anybody can add a water softener.
Okay.
You can go to Menards and buy one.
Yeah.
You can, you know, rent them from, you know, wherever too.
Yeah.
So
my old house, we rented ours. We didn't own it.
yeah. So yeah, no, that's nothing.
Yeah, so just if you're going to make updates to put them where you allocate them, in spots that'll increase value if you plan to sell, or even if you just want to have the equity in the house. I mean, because then that's your equity, and that's something that if you plan on keeping your house, you have that built up, and at some point when your house is paid off, or you want to give it to your children, or that all that is built into it, is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get sellers all the time that will say, well, if I paint, will that help?
I'm assuming if you take out the personality of the house, that might help.
Well, if you take out the personality, yes. Like, I don't want to say declutter, depersonalize.
Yeah.
Make sure your cabinets or your countertops are clean of as much as possible. Your refrigerator, take off schedules, take off pictures, things like that. Your coupons, you don't need that. Take all that off. You want to make your house look as empty as possible. Painting, don't worry about it because the new owner is probably going to repaint anyways.
Yeah, they're going to probably hate it, whatever color you have, because it's not their color,
Correct.
So you want to make sure you don't personalize it too much.
Correct. And the only thing that I recommend when painting is if you walk in and your room is bright yellow or a bright red, something that is like, ooh, then repaint it. Repaint it to a neutral color. But otherwise, for example, like this, don't repaint that. It's fine. They're going to repaint anyways. If your carpet is a little outdated or a little worn, don't worry about it because 9 times out of 10 they're going to replace it anyways.
Or they may not even want it. Some people hate carpet.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. So you're going to stick the money into putting in new carpet, and the new buyers are going to be like, why did they pick this out? I hate carpet. They're going to rip it out, and it really doesn't add money.
Yeah.
You're not going to get out of it what you spend into it, or put into it. So there's the little stuff you don't worry about. You want to go for the big things. You want to look at your windows, your roof, your mechanicals, your kitchen, and then the bathroom. So that's where you want to focus.
There you go. Kitchen and bathroom. And that's your to-do list.
Then I heard windows.
And then
you can tell I've done nothing in 10 years.
Which, I mean, as long as you maintain it, though, your house just needs updating. So as long as it's, maintained, but.
And if your windows are still solid and good, I mean, there are windows. I was just in a house last week. Those windows must have been like 1950s, 60s. And it was on a day that was really windy. And I just put my hand by it. I couldn't feel the wind. Yeah. So they were good. They were solid. I wouldn't recommend replacing them. They're good.
So do you feel like the market is still as crazy where people are like putting in bidding wars and stuff? Or do you see different areas being more crazy than others? Like Beaver Dam versus Mayville or anything like that?
No, I think, as far as Dodge County goes, it's pretty even as far as bidding wars and stuff go. You're going to see the bidding wars when a house is priced below market. That's when you're seeing the bidding wars. Right now, you're kind of seeing homes sit a little bit more. Okay. I think the market, as Angie would say, is kind of volatile. We're up, we're down, we're up, we're down.
There's so much unknown, and I feel like a lot of it is driven through what people see online. There's so much fear that they're putting online now about the market and how I can't tell you when people I talk to, like, oh, I want the market to crash. Like, we don't want the market to crash. Like, it's not, and there's so many things like, oh, it's gonna be all wait all over again. Like, it's not, all wait all over again. So people are waiting for that to happen. So I feel like a lot of things are sitting because the media outlets are making it seem like we're in this huge crisis. So they're afraid to buy because they don't want that to happen, or they think it's going to be better, if they wait. So I'm seeing that a lot too. People are like, oh, well, it's going to crash to buy it. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. Do you feel like, though, also part of it is it's February and come April, tax returns have come in, it's getting spring, it's nicer out.
People have down payments, and also people don't want to move their kids in
right,
the
you don't want to move, well, and you also don't want to move your stuff in the middle of winter.
Right.
Usually that's January.
When it's slow.
Where people don't want to move. February is when stuff starts to pick up a little bit. But January was busy for me. February is somewhat, but it's slower than January, which is odd.
Yeah, the market's very.
Well, I actually bought mine in December 27th.
Did you really?
Days after Christmas. Yeah, and it's
Merry
like
Christmas
that's not when you'd pick, but I mean that's
people are always buying and selling. Right.
Yeah.
There's just
Well,
a
and
slow,
when
You
you
see a
find
bigger
that deal or
impulse.
whatever,
Yeah.
you just go. Doesn't matter if it was Tuesday or Saturday or
Yeah.
December. You just go.
And that's the importance of being ready, being
Yes,
prepared.
and having someone who's helping you.
Yeah, so when that time comes, because you can't really, they say, timing the market is not as good as time in the market. So the longer that you've been in the market, the more prepared you are for when that perfect house hits the market.
Yeah,
So trying to time it right now is not going to work to your advantage because the market is so volatile that, like, I track rates every single day. Like, I enjoy watching like the chart, of how the rates are doing, and like one day it can be like amazing and the next day it can be terrible. So if you miss that one day, the longer you're in the market, the easier it's going to be to capitalize on that exact moment when the time is right. Trying to like, oh, I'm just going to wait. Like, you're going to wait, but then, and we talked about this before, like, you can wait till the market goes down, like for interest rates, but then the cost of the houses are usually going to go up. Or, you wait till then, but then that house is gone instantly.
Yes.
So if you're not ready, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
So time in the market is more beneficial than trying to time the market. I find that to be a very powerful statement.
Absolutely.
It's true. You're not going to find your house and get accepted within a day. Like, those don't happen usually same day.
Yep.
It took my husband and I 3 years to find our current home. Like, it takes a long time depending on what you're looking for.
Right.
Everybody's needs are different, but it's not an instantaneous thing where it just happens. I mean, sometimes it does. We have seen it where it goes like that, but that's very, very rare. So it's just, planning is one of the key things, and asking all the questions, just to understand what you're getting into, because you don't want to do something on a whim and then, regret it, or, gain the education piece ahead of time to know what you can and can't do, or how is your income going to affect this? Is it going to affect it? Or, hey, I went to Kohl's, they offered me my Kohl's credit card for 10% off, on my $30 pair of shoes that I just bought, So it's knowing those little things that people don't think of, because it's like, they're just living their life.
Yeah.
So it's just the more you know.
Well, Chelsie, thanks for coming in and asking your questions. And if anybody else out there has questions, you can put them in the comments, or you can send us a private message if you don't want them public.
Right.
We'll be happy to answer.
Any question is a good question, because it's just, we enjoy educating people on the entire process. It doesn't matter what stage of the process you're in. I mean, even if you're thinking, okay, my 5-year plan is to buy, then let's get the right foundation set up, so that way you are ready to do that when the time comes. Sometimes you can be surprised, on how quickly it can go or how long it could take, because it can be two very different things. So